On this training mission, we will learn the cold start procedure of the F-104C, a DCS mod created by VSN. It is broadly based on the procedures of the real aircraft, adapted for the DCS sim. This training series is set on the Marianas map, and the approximate mission time is 15 minutes. When a voiceover tells you to interact with a cockpit element, wait until the voiceover has finished, before performing the interaction. If you are repeating the mission, note that most voiceovers can be skipped just by pressing the spacebar. Press spacebar to begin. On the F-104, an external electric power source should be used when starting the engine. Ask our ground crew to plug in the ground power, press the # key to contact them. On the DCS communications menu select F8, ground crew, F2, ground electric power, F1, on.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now on.
Good, now that we have electric power for the aircraft systems, let's illuminate the cockpit a bit. If needed, you can enable a flashlight with the keys left Alt+L. Adjust the knobs as desired. A left click turns the knob clockwise, while a right click turns it counterclockwise. Press spacebar once set. Set the exterior lights to flash, to alert the ground crew that we are about to start the engine. Let's contact air traffic control to get starting clearance. Its radio frequency has been set on preset number 2, so with a right click turn the UHF preset channel selector clockwise, until 2 is seen on its channel visor. The ATC frequencies can be seen on the DCS F10 map, by clicking on the blue runway symbol. Next, on the UHF panel at the left console, turn the selector preset manual to preset, and confirm that the radio function selector is set to TR or TR+G. By default, the volume knob is already at full. The radio frequency of each preset can be seen on the DCS kneeboard, which you can open with right Shift+K. Now press the PTT binding of Radio 1. It does not have a default keyboard binding, so make sure to devise your own. On my DCS I have binded it to right Control +/. On the DCS communications menu select F5, ATC, F1, Anderson Air Force Base, F3, request startup.
Pontiac
Press
1,
spacebar
request
once
startup.
ATC gives you clearance to start. Press F12 to clear the DCS menu. On the F-104, to start the engine it is necessary to set a starting rotation of its turbojet shaft. This is achieved by applying compressed air, supplied by an external air source. Ask our ground crew to connect a ground air supply unit to our aircraft, press / to contact them. On the DCS communications menu select F11, parent menu, F8, ground crew, F4, ground air, F1, connect.
Chief, connect ground air supply.
Copy. Ground air
Now that the
supply
air
is now
source is
connected.
connected to our aircraft, press / once more, and instruct the crew to start supplying air. Select F8, ground crew, F4, ground air, F3, apply. Once you hear
Chief,
ground
apply
air
ground air
applied,
supply.
press spacebar to continue, as we are ready
Copy.
to start the engine.
Air is now applied.
Throttle, set the throttle to its idle position, with the right Control +End key binding. Start switch, move to start and hold. The F-104 engine has 2 ignition systems, 1 and 2, you can employ either one to cold start the engine. Move the chosen 1 or 2 switch up, with a left click, to its start position, and hold it until the RPM rises, then release it. The switch will spring back to its middle position. At 10% RPM, advance the throttle beyond idle, and then retard the lever to the idle position. At 40% RPM, move the start switch used to its down, stop start position, with a right click, to not damage the starter. external electric power and air supply, disconnect at idle RPM. Once the engine reaches idle RPM, 70%, call the ground crew and disconnect the ground
Chief,
equipment.
turn off the ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now off.
Chief, disconnect ground air supply.
Copy.
Ground air supply is now disconnected.
Engine instruments, check for proper indication. Nozzle position, check it's approximately 4. Tachometer, 71% RPM, plus minus 1%. Exhaust gas temperature, EGT, between 550 to 600 degrees Celsius. Oil pressure, 5 psi minimum. Fuel flow, between 1,000 and 1,500 pounds per hour. Oil quantity, 28 pints, 3/4. Press spacebar to continue. Generators, check operation of the generator bus transfer circuits. Unfortunately, this aspect of the simulation is not yet implemented. Press spacebar to skip the check. UHF, VOR, TACAN, and IFF, as required. UHF, we already tuned the UHF radio to Anderson's ATC, on a prior step of the cold start. VOR, turn our VOR receiver on, and tune the Uniform November Zulu VOR station at 115.8 MHz, by repeatedly right-clicking its tuning knob until the visor reads 1158. TACAN, in the same way, turn the TACAN receiver to TR mode, and tune our local TACAN station at 54 X-ray, by repeatedly right-clicking its tuning knob until the visor reads 054. IFF, set the identification friend or foe mode dial to low or norm. Press spacebar to continue the training. Hydraulic system, check. To ensure that the hydraulic systems are operating properly, perform the following checks. Using the flight stick, move the stabilizer over its entire range. The ground crew will visually check that all flight surfaces move properly. Next, move the ailerons over their entire range. Now, move the rudder over its entire range, using the rudder pedals. Good, flight surfaces check complete. Press spacebar to continue. Open the speed brakes, using the bindings shown on the left. Good, the speed breakout warning lamp should be lit. Now close the speed brakes to continue the checks. Move the flaps lever to its land position, using the bindings shown on the left. On the front panel are two numeric indicators, displaying both the leading edge and the trailing edge flaps position. 0 denotes flaps up, 1 for takeoff flaps, and 2 for landing flaps. Next, move the flap lever to its takeoff position. The flaps are now ready for the upcoming takeoff. Press spacebar to continue. Trim, check operation and set for takeoff. Push the trim hat to nose up and then to nose down, using the bindings shown on the left. Use the pitch trim gauge to visualize the trim action. Unfortunately, the takeoff trim indicators are not implemented yet, so just leave the trim on its neutral position and press spacebar once it's set. Stability augmenters, check. Turn the stability augmenters off, then on, one at a time. The ground crew will report a stick kick in pitch and roll, and a rudder kick and yaw, as the respective switches are turned on. Remember to close the switch covers. Good, this completes the cold start training mission. On the next mission we will learn the taxi and takeoff procedures. Press spacebar to exit.